One of the things that I've really tried to impress upon people and pet owners is that with the new year coming up and already here, basically, you want to make that New Year's resolution and keep that New Year's resolution of getting pet insurance for your pet if you don't already have it. And then I realized that probably led to a lot of different types of questions that are out there surrounding pet insurance. Is it like human insurance? Is there co-pays involved? Are there deductibles? How do I go about getting the right plan? What are the plans cover? What don't they cover? Does my vet get paid directly, or do I have to pay and then get reimbursed? Well, I took all of these questions in and kind of sorted through them and picked out the best ones and ones that I hope would give the most informative answers. So why don't you come along with a drive with me as we enjoy the beautiful Lancaster countryside and answer all of those questions about pet insurance and a couple of other things on this episode of Driving with Doc. This is Dr. Langlois, and welcome back to another fun, exciting episode of Driving with Doc as we enjoy the wonderful Lancaster County countryside here. Hope everybody had a wonderful new year and a great holiday season. It's been an interesting first couple of days to the new year. I think everybody would agree, but we're not here to talk about politics. We're obviously here to talk about the best health and care for your pets. And if you saw my last newsletter that went out about a week ago, one of the things that I did put in there was, a little bit of a quick fact rundown of why it is really important that everybody should be looking to make a New Year's resolution of getting pet insurance for your pet. And it certainly is something that I think helps a lot of owners be able to afford more things for their pet. They don't necessarily have to make decisions based solely on economic needs. And look, times are tough for a lot of people right now. We understand that. And, we as veterinarians try to work, with clients and owners as much as we possibly can, but we still do have to charge prices for things, or we would, not be able to keep the doors open, lights on, and be able to provide your pets with care. So it is certainly something, the financial aspect of veterinary medicine and having to charge and bills and what's appropriate and what's not, that can be debated, from now until the cows come home, as they say. But what I want to do is basically try to provide a couple of avenues for people to be able to maybe better afford some of those, treatments and surgeries if needed, or God forbid, a major catastrophe were to strike your pet, something like that. So I mentioned insurance, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But the other thing that's out there that a lot of people are aware of, but some people still are not, is something that is called Care Credit. And so Care Credit basically works like a credit card, but it has, a couple of different features on it, and it's something that you apply for. I will say you do have to undergo an application process. They do check your credit on it, and then based on all of those factors, you will be approved basically for a specific amount of money that can be on that Care Credit card. And now Care Credit can be used for a lot of things too. I know people that use them at dentist's office, sometimes their own doctors. It's not necessarily specific to veterinary medicine, but a lot of veterinarians do work with the Care Credit platform. And the way Care Credit works is this, is basically, your vet will say it's going to cost this much, and if you have that much on your Care Credit, or you have some on your Care Credit that you can put towards it, Care Credit will pay the veterinarian directly. And then you have anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, depending on the plan that you sign up for, to go ahead and repay that interest-free, which is a nice thing. You can do monthly installments, you can pay it off all at once. It just depends on how you want to do it. However, the trick with it, and that everybody needs to know, is that if you do not fully pay that off within that time frame, whatever that stipulated time frame is, all of that interest accrues. So you are then stuck with not only the principal, but all of the interest that is accrued for all those months. So it really is something that if you are going to use Care Credit, please understand the terms and make sure that you are going to be able to pay it back in that time frame, because we don't want to see anybody stuck with a huge extra interest bill because they weren't able to pay it off. So that's the way Care Credit works for the most part. It's something you can apply for online yourself. Sometimes veterinarians will be able to apply for you at their practices. It just kind of depends on how your vet is set up. And most vets will accept Care Credit as payment. You do want to make sure and check with your veterinarian, that they do before you go through that process. But it is also something definitely that a lot of emergency clinics usually will take Care Credit as well. So that is, of course, one important thing to be aware of. Now, the big thing that we're going to talk about for this Driving with Doc episode is, of course, insurance. And pet insurance is something that's been out there for probably almost 20-25 years, if not a little bit more. But it's really amazing that a lot of owners do not take advantage of it or do not sign up for it. And there's a lot of surveys done as to why, and exactly, is there some sort of barrier that's preventing people from really signing up for this or wanting to do it? Nobody really knows the answer, but I can tell you from working on cases way back, even when I was a vet student, geez, 20 years ago now, we're not going to talk about that, it saved lives. Plain and simple. The fact that an owner had insurance was the only reason they were able to save their pet from a major surgery, or because of being hit by a car or something like that. So really, you definitely want to look into this. And so I'm just going to go over a couple of things about insurance. I'm not an insurance salesman. Every plan is different, and I'm going to say again, I'm not endorsing one plan over another. There are tons of insurance plans out there. It is something you need to do research on your own, maybe contact a few of the companies just through a Google search, to see what's out there, and then kind of make your decision based on that. But most pet insurance plans work different from human insurance plans, and I think that's something that it trips people up a little bit. They're not structured in a lot of ways like HMOs or the common plans, the healthcare for all of those sorts of things, where basically you sign up for a human plan, you pay a monthly premium, and basically then when you go into your doctor's office, you pay whatever a copay is, 20, 15, whatever, and then basically your insurance usually kicks in the rest, or then it's submitted to the insurance company, and then they pay a certain amount, and then you have to pay a certain amount. It's not that type of setup. There's really no copay per se when it comes to veterinary insurance costs or reimbursements or things like that. It doesn't work that way. Usually it's done in a way of where you have your insurance plan, your pet needs some sort of service. In most cases, it's a case of where then you pay whatever the bill is, you submit that claim to the insurance company, and then the insurance company will reimburse you for most or all of the costs of that procedure, depending on the plan that you have. And again, this is where you want to research all of those plans, so that's really important. There usually is a deductible option on most plans, to where you would be responsible for a certain deductible, and I've seen them anywhere from $0 to $500, $1,000. Again, every plan is a little bit different. The deductible part does sort of work like it does in human medicine, so where the higher the deductible you're willing to pay, the lower the premium cost per month will be, and vice versa. So that's really important to know. Next question that usually comes up is, well, what exactly is covered under pet insurance? And again, this can vary from plan to plan, and even the options that are available in various plans. It can cover things as simple as just what we call wellness visits, so it can cover only basic exams, vaccinations, wormings, maybe yearly blood work, things like that, all the way up to those wellness plans plus what we call catastrophic coverage. So if, God forbid, your pet were to get cancer or be hit by a car or swallow something and need a major intestinal surgery, have bladder stones, all these things that can be very major surgeries that can cost in the thousands of dollars, is something that these plans will cover. So again, you've got to research each plan. Every plan is a little bit different. There are some plans that offer multiple options. There are some plans that just figure they're going to cover everything under one umbrella, and then it just goes into deductibles and how much different things are going to cost and stuff like that. So again, as is going to be the kind of theme throughout this, is you do have to research all of these plans to make sure you know exactly what's going on. As far as some something like pre-existing conditions, congenital conditions, things of that nature, every plan is a little bit different on that. I will say this about pre-existing conditions, though. Most pet insurance plans will not cover something that is considered a pre-existing condition. And if you read the language in a lot of these plans, a pre-existing condition is basically any illness or condition that was discovered by the veterinarian before the plan took effect. If your dog is suffering from allergies, as an example, before you go ahead and get your pet insurance plan, anything related to those allergies are probably not going to be covered. Again, you've got to check with the insurance company and see how that works. Some pre-existing conditions, if they're cured, and the pet is healthy for a certain period of time, may not then fall back into that pre-existing condition area. Again, it's a little bit different with all of the plans that are out there, and you just have to do your research. But I will say that it's something you really want to look into and understand the plan that you're getting as far as getting the proper cost for your pet. Because really the trick when it comes to pre-existing conditions, if you have just adopted a puppy or a kitten, got a puppy or kitten or a young animal, get your insurance plan now. Find out what it is, find out what you want, and get it now. Get your pet in for a quick exam at your vet and have that pet certified as healthy. Hopefully it would be healthy at that point because they're a young animal. And then in most cases with the plans, anything that is covered or anything that animal should develop over the time, it should be covered by that plan because they're not considered pre-existing conditions. So that's certainly something to consider. The next question that is usually asked is, of course, well, how much is this going to cost? I'm already paying, veterinary bills and all this. Is it worth it? Every plan, again, is different, and I know I sound like a broken record on that, and I apologize, but depending on the type of plan you get kind of determines how much you're going to pay. Again, if you go for a high deductible, you're probably going to be paying a lower premium. If you go for the full gambit of coverage, you're probably going to have a higher premium than if you're just paying for wellness care or things like that. If you are dealing with one of the companies that just has a general umbrella policy where they kind of cover everything and they don't tier their programs out, it's probably going to be a monthly premium of a certain price, and really what's going to dictate how much that premium is going to be the deductible amount that you put in there, and that's really going to kind of dictate it. So you can usually make these payments quarterly, monthly, yearly. Again, it just depends on how the plan is set up, and anything that you may want to negotiate or figure out what is the best way for you guys to go ahead and pay those premiums is up to you, which is a little bit nicer in some ways than human health insurance because we don't necessarily have to worry about it as much. When it comes to making sure the monthly premiums are paid, some companies do offer quarterly payments and things of that nature. So keep all of that stuff in mind. The biggest question that we also get a lot of times when it comes to insurance is, well, is it going to be paid directly to is the balance or whatever is due or whatever insurance is going to cover, is that going to be paid directly to the veterinarian, or is it going to be a case of where I've got to pay it and then get reimbursed? Again, and I'll be honest about this, when pet insurance first came out, the biggest flaw that I saw in a lot of the plans was just that scenario where you still had to pay the bill. You were going to get reimbursed, but you still had to pay the bill to be able to, get the care and then submit the claim for reimbursement. Now, that's all well and good if you've got that money or somehow could get that money to initially lay out, but a lot of people that find themselves in financial difficulty don't have that $3,000, $5,000 or whatever it is if it's a major catastrophe or surgery or something. To pay out initially, even to get reimbursed. And so that was kind of the pitfall of pet insurance in a lot of ways. And I will say that I think some companies are starting to listen to that, and they are starting to really look at ways to directly reimburse or pay the veterinarian. And I do believe there are a couple of plans out there now that are either doing it or are very close to doing it, which makes things a lot easier on you. Usually the way those work is whatever your deductible is, and whatever kind of out-of-pocket cost you may assume based on the plan, you will have to pay that to the vet, and then the insurance company will go ahead and directly pay the rest of the bill directly to the veterinarian. So you don't have this having to pay and then reimburse and get into all of that stuff going on. So it's nice to see companies are starting to do that. I hope that more insurance companies will start looking at that option. And sometimes you can talk to your veterinarian too, and this is where having a really good relationship with your veterinarian is very important. Because you really want to be able to have that trust and relationship with your vet, and if you do, then it's a case of where, you know, even if it's going to take a couple of days for you to get reimbursed to then pay the vet, your vet may be willing to work with you on that if they notice that you're a regular client, you're trustworthy, and you've built a relationship with your veterinarian, and they may give you a little bit of that grace period. Again, it's something you've got to talk to your vet about more than anything. So, you know, those are kind of the highlights and the hit points when it comes to pet insurance. Again, I cannot stress enough the importance of getting pet insurance for your pets. The last data I saw, it was only like between 2 and 5% of pet owners out there have pet insurance for their pets. And this is not just dogs and cats we're talking about. I mean, you can get insurance for pocket pets in some plans. Obviously, horse insurance has been out there for ages. But, you know, for all different types of species now, you usually can get some form of insurance. And every plan is different again, and you've got to really look at it to see exactly what plan is going to be best for you and what they are going to cover. But I really cannot stress, you know, just how much pet insurance saves lives. It really does. And, you know, it's not only even the life-saving aspect of it, which is really important, obviously, but if you look at some of the research and the data that's out there as well, we see owners who are now able to do a lot more of that preventative care because they have pet insurance. And so they're doing the more routine blood work, you know, scans once a year or every 6 months if they're a geriatric patient or something like that. They're doing the yearly dental prophylaxis and polishings and scalings. They're doing a lot of these things that maybe they otherwise would not be able to afford, but they can afford it now because they've got pet insurance. So don't think of pet insurance just as something that will cover you in the event of a catastrophic event, again, like your pet getting cancer or hit by a car or suffering a major injury, something like that. Think of it as something that will provide you the means of providing the best overall around care for your pet. That will cover everything, so you don't have to, you know, feel bad about maybe not being able to do this or not being able to do that, because it's going to be covered. So, you know, I think that's one of the holdups sometimes with owners when it comes to getting pet insurance. They wonder about the value of it, and are they really recouping a value from it by doing it if their pet is not seeing the vet very often? Well, if money is the reason that, you know, you can't do yearly exams, or you feel you're not getting value from your yearly exams, and we'll talk about that in another segment, this pet insurance will give you that value, because you will be able to provide the absolute best care for your pet. So that's a general overview of both kind of care credit and pet insurance. There are other payment options out there, things like scratch pay I've heard of, and a couple of other services that sort of work like care credit. So you certainly can do your research on that. But, you know, with all of that, it takes us to everybody's most favorite segment, and that is, of course, Doc's top 5 takeaways on this drive through Lancaster County. And number 1 on these top 5 takeaways, of course, is I want everybody to look into researching things like care credit and maybe applying now for it. You know, if your credit is pretty good, you know, obviously you have the card, the money is there. You don't have to spend it. You just obviously have it there in the event that you need it, and you can learn a little bit more about it and make sure that, you know, you understand all the terms and conditions. And if, God forbid, your pet all of a sudden is struck with an emergency, or you need to pay for that dental procedure or something, you might be able to, you know, look into using that care credit, especially if it's what would be considered a pre-existing condition and insurance isn't going to cover it. Number 2 on the top 5 takeaways: pet insurance saves lives. I cannot put it any simpler than that. It does. I've seen it firsthand. Any veterinarian will tell you that, you know, if not for the pet insurance, that animal probably would have had to been euthanized or would not have been able to be treated the same way. So keep all of that stuff in mind when you're thinking about pet insurance, and just remember that. Number 3, when we're talking about pet insurance, do your research as to what plan is best for you, and start doing it now. Like I said, there's a ton of plans out there. This you know, little drive here and talk is not meant to, you know, sway you into picking one plan over another. And, you know, we're not endorsing one plan over another here on Driving with Doc. We want you to do your research and be able to understand and see everything that is out there, and then make the best decision based on the animal that you have, especially if it's one you've had for a while, maybe has a pre-existing condition, maybe has had some health problems. Every plan is different, so make sure you do go ahead and research your plans, which is best for you and your pet. Number 4, get pet insurance early. Make sure that if you're getting a puppy or a kitten, you research their plans, you go ahead and sign up for pet insurance and get that, your puppy or kitten or whatever you are adopting or buying, get them seen by a veterinarian as soon as possible. So this way you have that baseline exam and your vet can say there are no problems that I have seen on this pet. And then if you do run into problems later on, everything hopefully will be covered by your insurance plan. And number 5, as I always recommend for anything involving your pets, you want to talk to your veterinarian. So if you have more questions about pet insurance, if you have questions about what pet insurance programs your vet most likely will use or has worked with in the past, talk to them. Talk to the office staff, talk to technicians, you know, talk to anybody at the vet office. They can certainly give you more information about pet insurance and which ones are best, particularly for your pet, which ones your vet has had the best experiences with, and you know, they certainly can guide you as far as getting some more of that done as well. So those are Doc's top 5 takeaways when it comes to pet insurance and paying for vet care. Again, I hope everybody is doing well in the new year. I hope everybody is doing well in these uncertain times in regards to a lot of things. And of course, if you have any comments about this particular segment, if there were things that I did not really cover that you maybe have questions on, or if you just have questions about something else in regards to the veterinary animal care world that you might want covered here on Driving with Doc, feel free to drop me a line at drivingwithdoc@gmail.com. Again, drivingwithdoc@gmail.com, and I will be sure to answer them. They might be answered in the newsletter. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. It usually goes out weekly. It has a ton of great information, both repeats of some of these videos, as well as some amazing other information from the entire veterinary spectrum. I try to include things about all species and all kind of new, interesting things that sometimes are out there that you know, the pet-loving public is not always aware of. So hope everybody enjoyed this little drive through the country. I hope everybody takes up that challenge of getting pet insurance for your pet as one of your New Year's resolutions. And we, of course, will see you next time right here in the countryside as we go driving with Doc.